So most normal people will say that Hillary Clinton was forced to run more to the left because of Bernie Sanders, but Hillary Clinton actually disagrees with that. Take a look.
What ideas, can you name one idea that he's put forward that you want to embrace, that he has really changed your position on?
Well, it's not that so much as the passion that he brought to the goals that his campaign set. I share the goals. We had different approaches about how to get there, but we are going to get to universal health care coverage. We are going to raise the national minimum wage. We are going to make college affordable, and we are going to crack down on abuses in the financial markets that might harm Main Street again. So his passionate advocacy for a litany of important goals for our country, I think has really ignited a lot of people, particularly young people. And we share so much more in common than we certainly have at all with Donald Trump. So I think it's going to be an exciting time to, bring our supporters together to, make a commitment to defeating Donald Trump.
Okay, so there's one portion that I really want to touch on. She says we're going to get universal health care coverage. We're going to raise the minimum wage. We're going to make college affordable. We're going to crack down on abuses in the financial markets that might harm Main Street again. Okay. The problem is that we don't believe you, Hillary Clinton, so you can say these things and say that your ideas line up with Bernie Sanders, but we don't believe you. You say you want universal healthcare, but what you're proposing is a private insurance-driven healthcare system, whereas Bernie Sanders wants a public system, a single-payer system, something that you were in favor of before the health insurance industry greased your palms and gave you millions of dollars to do speeches for them and gave you political campaign contributions. You were in favor of that. So now what you're proposing is something entirely different than a single-payer system. Even if we get to 100% universal healthcare under the Affordable Care Act, the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States will still most likely be due to medical bills unless something else surpasses that. And if you can't afford your monthly insurance premiums or the high deductibles that are $5,000, sometimes $10,000, then you either die or go bankrupt. That's not universal healthcare, because even if you still have medical insurance, that doesn't mean that you're going to get the care you need. That is the antithesis of a single-payer system, which every other modern country in the world has. So you're not proposing the change we actually want. Another thing she said when it comes to minimum wage, well, we both want to raise the minimum wage. Right, but you want a $12 minimum wage, and Bernie Sanders wants a $15 minimum wage. See, I know that you can't really empathize with us peasants, but that $3 difference makes a huge difference. You don't understand the plight of the average worker because you literally gave a speech about income inequality in a jacket that cost almost $13,000. You make $200,000 per hour when you give your paid speeches to Goldman Sachs, yet you won't even approve a $15 minimum wage for us peasants? I find that insulting. Are you better than us? Why do you deserve to make so much money? You wore a coat that costs $13,000. That's how much someone makes a minimum wage per year right now currently. Yet we can't even afford to give people a $15 minimum wage. Really, Hillary? I just find it insulting. And also, when it comes to college affordability, you're literally proposing nothing new at all. Obama already capped our repayment plans at 10% of our income, okay? We already have had these programs where we can do work study and pay off our tuition that way. It's nothing new that you're proposing, so when you say that, you're just paying lip service to college students, hence the reason why many millennials do not like you and do not believe that you're going to do anything, which is why Bernie Sanders, who wants to make college tuition completely free, we like that because that's what we need. We can't actually eliminate our debt through your option. We're just going to have the debt forever. And if it is forgiven after 20 years, like you say it will be, well, then the IRS will look at that as income, and then that will just be something we have to pay off in taxes. So either way, you're not proposing anything new, and that's why we don't like it. And finally, you say that you also want to crack down on the financial services industry. We don't believe you. You won't even release the transcripts of paid speeches you've given to Goldman Sachs. What did you say? Obviously, you said something that would be damaging to your campaign and something that would contradict what you've been saying, that you want to regulate and rein in the banks, because why else wouldn't you release the speeches? If you have nothing to hide, then release the speeches, but you won't release the speeches. And furthermore, you've taken money from the banking institutions that crashed the economy in 2008, and you will not reinstate Glass-Steagall, something that is just common sense. So you actually think that banks should be able to gamble with our money. So if somebody deposits money in the bank, you're perfectly fine with them gambling that money. Well, maybe you're okay with that because you have hundreds of millions of dollars. But for those of us who are scrounging up pennies, that actually is really something that we don't like. And it actually led to the Great Recession in 2008. So if you're even against common sense reforms like Glass-Steagall, we don't believe you're going to do anything to rein in the big banks. You won't even agree to break them up. That's common sense, Hillary. Now, the question that he posed to her was, can you name one idea that Bernie Sanders put forth that you want to embrace? You said no. That's a complete lie. You lobbied for the Trans-Pacific Partnership 45 times while you were Secretary of State, and you referred to it as the gold standard of trade. But when Bernie Sanders came out against it, well, you had pressure on you to come out against it. So that's one area where you can say he influenced you. Whether or not you actually are being truthful is another thing, because there's a reason why the State Department is blocking the release of your TPP-related emails. It's probably because you have something in there that shows that you actually do support it. So we don't believe you, but that is one area where you could say it at least influence your rhetoric. Another area is Social Security insurance. At first, you were not in favor of lifting the cap on taxable income for Social Security, and Bernie Sanders came out in favor of that, and all of a sudden, you're coming around to that idea. That's another area where Bernie Sanders directly influenced you. But the overall problem is that we don't believe anything you say. Anything you are claiming to do, you've either contradicted in the past, or you're taking money from donors that have a vested interest in you not doing what you say you're going to do. Case in point, climate change. You have fossil fuel donations that lobbyists are bundling to you, and yet you lie about them when it's very clear that you've taken their money. We're not stupid. We can look this up. We have the internet, by the way. But how are you supposed to actually do anything about climate change if you're taking money from the fossil fuel industry, if you won't even ban fracking? This is why we don't believe you, Hillary Clinton. So is it the case that Hillary Clinton was pushed to the left because of Bernie Sanders? Well, yes, but only in rhetoric. When it comes to her actions, she's not going to do anything that Bernie Sanders would do because she is beholden to her corporate donors, because she is a center-right politician. She is a Democrat in name only. So there it is. We don't believe you, Hillary.